Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing week of Amplifying Nevada Native Youth. And I hope everyone's having a great week so far. And I know the weather can be bad. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, but I just want to give prayers and blessings to everyone who's watching out there tonight. And thank you to everyone who keeps coming back every week and asking questions. We really appreciate that. And so today we have an amazing guest. She's from the University of Oregon. She plans on being a teacher. But before we get into any of that, I would like to talk about next week. So next week we'll be highlighting SIPI. So if you may be interested or know people who are just interested in going to another TCU like SIPI, which is located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, feel free to tune in, ask questions. We'll be talking with Alyssa Somgoy. And so get your questions ready for next week, and then come by Thursday at 6 p.m. And so to introduce our guest for today and myself, our host. So my name is Avery Wyatt. I'm a student at the University of Nevada, and my co-host is Ferdina Romero. So Ferdina is an education programs professional for the Indian Education and the Nevada Department of Education. And so to tell a little bit more about myself, so I'm a senior at the University of Nevada. I'm currently studying public health and political science with a minor in addiction treatment services. And then we started working with Annie, Amplified Nevada Native Youth, in July. And so this whole program is designed to basically get college outreach and career outreach for Native students in Nevada, and also just Native students across the country, whoever's interested in Native career work or TCUs or just other universities where Natives tend to go, which is all universities. And so Dina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ferdina Jar Romero, and I'm with the Nevada Department of Education. I'm Southern Paiute, enrolled with the Kaibai Band of Paiutes and close affiliations to Mwapa Band of Paiutes. So if you're out there watching from my two tribes, welcome, and all the other tribes that are out there watching tonight. Avery said it great. Last week we had Haskell. I was excited to hear that Tyler actually went to Haskell, so we'll hear a little bit about her experience there and her experience in her present and what she thinks about for her future. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your questions at the end of this discussion. Back to you, Avery.
Cool. Thank you, Dina. And so now to introduce our amazing guest for today. So we would like to welcome Tyler Sumpter. So Tyler is Cheyenne and is from the Cheyenne and the Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma, and is also the Pyramid Lake Paiute. So Tyler, would you like to introduce yourself a little more?
Hi everyone. My name is Tyler Sumpter, and like Avery said, I'm enrolled Cheyenne Arapaho, and I currently live on the Pyramid Lake. Well, I've lived on the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribes my whole life. I'm currently a student. I'm working on my master's at the University of Oregon, and I'm also a part of the Subsequela program there.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for being here with us today, taking the time out of your day, especially with your busy master's program. Thank you for coming here with us and just finding the time to speak to youth and whoever's listening out there today. And so to sort of dive into a little bit more about your education background. So what is the master's program? Can you describe a little bit more about the program you're in right now?
Yeah, so the program I'm in is called UO Teach. It's a one-year program. It goes June to June, so I had recently just started in June. And in this program, they help teachers or aspiring teachers like myself. They give you the teaching experience. So I kind of already did student teaching, but I'm going to do it again, which is fine because the more experience, the better. We've been working on like social, cultural issues in education and trying to kind of go from the traditional way of what we know as teaching and kind of bring more equitable teaching. Mm-hmm. And I know further down the road, we'll get into like our content area specific. So my content area is history. So we'll be getting more into like methods and how to teach history in our future classrooms. And also, we're getting an endorsement in ESOL, which is English for speakers of other languages. So by the end of this, I'll have that endorsement as well. And the Subsequela program is a program for Native educators. So they try to bring Native people who want to get into teaching. They offer, they basically give you like a full ride, and they pay for your tuition. They pay for books. I got a laptop. They paid for my books. They've paid for everything that you need paid for is paid for by them. But the way you pay back is at the end of this program, I'll have at least 6 months to find a job, and I'll have to work in a predominantly Native American school, and or like 25% Native populated school. So that's how I'll pay back this program for what they're doing for me now at the University of Oregon.
Whoa, that sounds really cool, actually. I didn't know that they had like the whole process of you working at like predominantly native school. And I think that's really cool. I think that's what they should do for a lot of professional careers where natives, I mean, we're all across the world. Indigenous people are everywhere. And so I think that's really cool.
And as teachers, like, we're really underrepresented. So like, I think that's why they're trying to bring in, like, this program is really important because they're trying to get more Native educators out there into the country and into schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you first off for being a Native teacher, just because I've been telling people, I got asked this question earlier in the week, but someone said, oh, when was the first time you had a Native teacher? And it was actually, like, I'm 24 right now. It was this year. This is the first year I've ever had a Native teacher, like, ever. And so, yeah, we need more Native teachers in the field. And yeah, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, I can totally say yes, because I work with predominantly a lot of those schools with high populations of American Indian students in them. And a lot of our teachers are non-Native. So you coming back or going to another state where there's a predominant Native population is going to be great. So thank you.
It's awesome. I'm really excited for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, like, teaching like your own people too, it just feels like you're just revamping and like kindling our culture once again that was sort of taken away. So that should be really cool. Mm-hmm. And so now we'll sort of dive into more of the question section of this discussion. And so sort of describe your path to your professional career. So I know you're not really in your professional career directly yet, but maybe describe that path that it took to get to the program you're in right now.
So on like why I wanted to be a teacher?
Yeah.
Okay, so like you said, like you thought about when the first time you had a Native teacher in your life. And I know I attended Natchez Elementary here in Wadsworth on our reservation, and which was a predominantly Native American school. And I can say I probably had about 2 or 3 teachers that were Native. But like other than that, we had like non-Native teachers, and I felt like they never really connected with us. They never really tried to get to know us. Like I was okay in school, but there were some kids who were like lower or struggling, and they never really got the resources just because the teachers never really made that effort to get to know them and get to know like where they were struggling, what they needed help with. Maybe it was just family problems or stuff like that. And I feel like that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to become a teacher, as well as when I went to Mendive, there were some teachers that kind of looked at the Native students as like they had made comments to some people who had came with me from our elementary school, and they kind of were not doing well in school. They were failing, whatever. But the teacher had made the comment saying, it's okay, you don't have to do the work. Like, you're just going to fail back and go back to the school on your reservation anyways. And in our program, we've kind of got to learn that from as a form of spirit murdering. So when you're kind of killing the person's spirit when you do that, and calling them out and kind of putting them down. And I felt like that wasn't really fair. So like after seeing the underrepresentation in throughout my schooling, and also just like thinking back to elementary school about like how much teachers could have helped us more if they would have just kind of made the effort to get to know students, Native students, get to know our culture, that type of thing. I felt like that's when I kind of knew I wanted to be a teacher and an educator and connect with students more on that type of level. And also like just knowing my mom, who was in education. She retired after working in education for 31 years. And all these people, like kids she's got to know, like working in the school for that long, they still come back and like they're adults now and their kids are in school, and like just always her helping them out and like just being there. And also like Karen, who's a mentor of mine, who still kind of helps people out in that type of way. I always thought like I wanted to do that, and like that's something I could do. Even though I had a good support system, maybe I could be the support system for someone else down the road, you know. And I've been in their shoes. I've had different experiences. I've like played college ball, I could help them with that type of aspect. So yeah, that's how I chose to be a teacher.
Yeah, no, I hear, yeah, it sounds like I usually hear similar experiences from Native students, is that non-Native teachers tend to not really try to get to know us, or they try to, I think maybe that, I don't know if it's like stressful for them to try and get to know us, but if you're a teacher out there listening, yeah, get to know your Native students. The best teachers I ever had, the ones that I can really remember, are the ones that just literally introduced themselves to us, and like personally, like the ones who said, oh, hey, like, I am interested in your culture, I want to know more about your culture, or even just like, how are you doing? Like that rarely happens with teachers. So that's pretty cool that you're on this pathway to being one of those good teachers. And I know you mentioned before, you mentioned a mentor of yours. And so I was wondering, did you do this all on your own, or were there mentors or other resource programs that you really utilized or you thought were cool?
So I went to different colleges. I went to 3 different colleges throughout my experience for my undergrad. And at these like colleges, I knew I wanted to be in education. And I also was far away from home. I never attended colleges in state, so I was also away from home. So like one way I had to do that was make friends, or I'll like utilize the professors. Like when they say they're there for help or go to their office hours, like I would do that. And I would get into like my certain, well, once I got into education, like I would always be talking to the education professors. Like for example, I went to Collegiate St. Mary, and I was in the elementary education program at Haskell. And then I decided that I kind of I felt like I would connect better with middle school, high school students. So when I went to Collegiate St. Mary, I switched from elementary to secondary education. And so that was like a whole different like experience. And like, it was like, when you transfer and stuff, like you just lose out on different, like they're in different, the programs are different. So they were doing lesson planning, and at Haskell, we were kind of just getting into that. So when I transferred, I needed help, and the professors, like I wasn't comfortable asking because I was just so comfortable being around natives at Haskell. So when I went to these professors, it was kind of like a struggle to ask for help. So I had reached out to my Haskell professor, and I told her I would drive back if she could help me. And it was like 2.5 hours away, and I drove back, and she took the time out of her day, like 2 hours, brought me lunch, and we had worked on, like, she taught me how to lesson plan. We worked on it for like a couple hours. She taught me like everything I needed to do to be prepared for my new program. And like just having mentors like that, I would reach out to Karen, because Karen Shaw, who she's a higher ed director here for the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe, my mom's best friend also. I would reach out to her whenever I would need help with anything, and we would be late night on the phone. Like she would help me with any like questions I needed, classroom management answers. Even here at Pyramid Lake, like Aubrey Neal, like I would reach out to her. Like she was my mentor last year, my person, and like all these people I've kind of used or helped or leaned on for any type of help that I've ever needed with education questions. And also like some of my coaches I would lean on. Like one thing I learned while being in college is like it's okay to ask for help. People are all going through the same thing. Like there's people always there to help you and willing to help you, so reach out to them. And that's one thing I like kind of utilize, because it's like you can't do this alone. College is hard. So just really taking advantage of the mentors and like the programs that I had. And like even like the Seb Sequala program, like I really am utilizing that program to get through my master's program right now.
So I read a couple articles on you just to prepare for this, and I thought it was really cool that you referenced U.S. Olympian Billy Mills. And why was that? I know you played some sports in college as well as basketball in high school. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not even sure what article you're referring to, but was it when I met him at the airport?
I don't know. I just I was like, oh.
So,
to say I was one of your favorite sports hero was Billy Mills.
Just because I think that he's just well, when you think about like where he went to school, he went to Kansas, and he would come back to Haskell and just be around the natives, and I thought was cool. That was cool, and like how he went to the Olympics and like he won, and like that was just like, I don't know, just really cool to do. And it's like kind of like how you think, like me, like I was away from school. I didn't really know anybody. Everywhere I went, I would not know anybody, kind of like him. And he was away from home doing what he wanted to do. And it was kind of like his, like he went to go to the Olympics and he did what he did, went to college. And I feel like that's why he's one of my sports heroes, because like I was kind of doing the same thing, but with basketball. And it was kind of like he was not going to stop doing what he wanted until he reached his goal. And that's kind of the path I'm on now. Like that's like one of the things, like my goal is always have been graduate college, do my master's, blah, blah, blah. And I'm all like reaching these goals one by one, but it hasn't been the like easiest road. Like I've had speed bumps and everything. And I feel like the same with him, So yeah.
Yeah. And it's always going to be that way in life in general.
Yeah. No, yeah, I could definitely agree. That's good though. I mean, native athletes, we always look up to native athletes. Whenever we can just have one athlete that's just doing something good. I mean, like I can think of even just like at the for the women's basketball team here at the University of Nevada. As soon as we got women's basketball players, that place was filled with natives like every single week, no matter what day it was. It was so cool. But so you played, from what I hear, I know you played sports in high school. I used to go watch you. College, you played basketball at Haskell and also college at St. Mary too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it like to play sports in college?
So when I first went to Bismarck, it was like a culture shock, because I was like surrounded by people, like, because I was so used to diversity going to Reed High School. Then I went to Bismarck, and then it was kind of like cowboys and Indians. And I would tell my mom this, and they would never believe me. And then this was a year before No Dapple. So then No Dapple happened, and then it was in Bismarck, and my mom and them were like, okay, now we believe you. So then I also like playing my first year was also like a shock kind of, because my coach, like in a way, he was kind of racist a little bit. So like I was always like having to prove myself, I feel like, a little bit more. And I didn't really like that. And I'd like be playing behind some girls who like didn't really like, I would come in and I would score a lot, and the next game I wouldn't get to play. And just things like that. So that was hard. And especially coming from Reed High School, where I like played a lot and had good success. And then I went to that school. So that was kind of discouraging. And then I transferred to Haskell. And then Haskell, where we had a really good year my first year. We had one conference, and but the whole transition from Bismarck to Haskell was different, because there we had like morning workouts, afternoon practice, and then trying to balance like your homework on top of that, and like games. And the games were like further away than they were in North Dakota, so I had to get used to that. And then also my junior and senior year, when I played at Collegiate St. Mary, I also like was hurt some of those times. Or my senior year, I was really hurt. I had plantar fasciitis, so I was sidelined a lot of it, so that kind of sucked. And it's also different when you transfer, getting used to different coaches, like having to get used to their system and how you're going to fit in, how you're going to contribute, that type of thing.
No, yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, I'll just touch back to what you said, like with like, there are coaches who tend to be like, they don't see natives. They honestly don't even see other black or brown people. So there is a chance that there can be like racist coaches out there. So, I mean, we really do have to address that when we do go to these schools. And it is an option, like you said, like you can transfer. Like if you feel like you're uncomfortable in that spot, leave, because it's honestly, it can affect your mental health. It can affect your playing. So yeah, go wherever you're comfortable.
Also, like really connecting with before you go to that school. So for me, like my senior year, I kind of had like a little setback, and I had 3 colleges where I thought I was going to go. I had UNR was one of them, Seattle University, and Quinnipiac. These were all D1 schools. You're a senior, you want to go D1, like that's a big thing. And then during this time, I had like Tawny Robinson had been playing at UNR, and like Avery said, the games used to fill up, and I was like, that's so cool. Like I could be at home, my family could come watch me. and blah, blah, blah. And then, so I was like, that would be a cool option. Seattle University, I love Seattle, so I thought that would be a good fit. And then Quinnipiac was in Connecticut, and I was like, there's no way I want to go to Connecticut. Like, I've never been there. It's cold.
Way
like,
over there.
Yeah. But the only cool thing was one of my good friends at the time, Gabby, was going to UConn. So I was like, I would only be an hour away from her. So those were all of my 3 options. But then I was like, no, I'm going to go to UNR. So I was so set on UNR. I didn't even like take visits. I would talk to the other coaches and like kind of like, yeah, string them along. But I wasn't really set on it. I knew I was going to go to UNR. So the summer before my senior year, I told UNR I was going to go there, whatever. And then I told the other coaches, like, are you sure? Because we're going to give these scholarships away. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. And then UNR, probably like October or sometime before, they had told me that they didn't think I was good enough, that I would need to do all these things to get better. And by my junior year, they could probably give me a scholarship. And at the time, I'm like I was 18 years old, getting discouraged. Like, basketball was my thing. I didn't really want to play my senior year after I found that out. And then I told my mom, and like the big thing was like, well, how are we going to pay for school for those 2 years? Because there's no way we can afford school for those 2 years. And so then I kind of was discouraged, and I just kind of put that whole recruiting process away. Like, I did not talk to any coaches. I was going to play my senior year. I wasn't going to play basketball anymore after that. I didn't even think about it at all. Like, my mom, finally it came to like April, in May, my mom said, you need to figure it out because you're going to school. You're not just going to be at home. So I said, okay, but like I had nowhere to go, really. I did have places to go, but like me being stubborn and not really knowing the whole recruiting process, I kind of just like, when you're just young, you don't want to deal with problems. That was me. And so finally my uncle, he's from North Dakota, he said he knows the athletic director and he can get me to go to the school. So I was like, you know what? All right, like I'm not dealing with it. So I had went to the school not really knowing where the school was, Bismarck, North Dakota, freezing state. Little not just of that. And also like not had one conversation with the coach at all. So like one thing is to really know where you're going to go, really talk to these coaches. What can they offer you? What are they going to do for you? Because these are all things like they're paying for you to come to school. And these are all things you need to know if you're going to go away from school. And that for me was one thing I didn't really research just because I had the situation I had my senior year. And it was kind of like a setback, and I was discouraged at the time.
Yeah, that sounds like a really tough situation to be put in. Especially, I mean, people think 18 is an adult, but you're still a kid when you're 18. So like you're still trying to figure out your life, especially growing up and coming from the reservation or just places where we aren't given the adequate resources normally, and people just assume that we know everything, we have our stuff figured out. So I mean, we do need that extra help, we need that extra guidance. So I mean, that's where mentors come in and stuff. So
and like the recruiting process is different. Like if you've never gone through it, like it's just different talking to coaches and like going on visits and like just that type of thing. Like you just like, where's the best fit for you? You don't really know. So that kind of thing was just stressful in itself. Plus like trying to get through your senior year and like everything going on, and like you're young and you're trying to figure out your life and what you're going to do next.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. So
what would you have done differently?
I would have probably took more visit or talked to more coaches. At that time, I would have never got discouraged because my grown self now would have been like, it's okay. There's more opportunities out there. There's other schools. You can definitely play at another school. Like you just need to put yourself out there again. Cause it was like, I put myself out there, and then them to tell me like I wasn't good enough to play, but it was also like myself now would be like, well, go prove them that you can kind of thing. And so then now I would talk to more coaches. Like there was coaches that did want to talk to me, but I was not having it at the time. So that was something I would like do over. Just putting yourself out there again and trying again, basically.
Yeah, so I heard you say like just go out there, like you have almost like we talked about this last week, but imposter syndrome, which is basically, for those who don't know, is just you thinking that you can't accomplish anything just because the environment around you makes it seem like you can't. Like you're surrounded by people who are so-called smarter than you or appear more knowledgeable than you, but yeah, you can do anything you want. Just honestly put your mind to it, you can do it. And so that was one piece of advice you gave. But so for Native youth who are really considering college sports, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give them?
If they're not considering college sports and they want to go on to school, I would say visit schools, research what you want to do, where you think like would be the most fit for you. So like say you want to go into this certain field, does this school have that field? Do they offer scholarships to natives? Like that kind of thing. Kind of like basketball where you have to research everything. Be like the same for just people not going to play basketball. Just what is the school going to offer for me? As well as what else could they do? I'm trying to think.
Well, almost kind of, I mean, even anything as simple as looking at the weather.
Yeah,
because you're like North Dakota. And it was almost like a
shock. I went to North Dakota. It was like -30 with like something wind chill. Like not prepared for it at all. Like snowed so much. Like was like the worst weather of my life. Like there was just the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've never had to experience any crazy weather like that. Besides, I think it was in Colorado Springs one time, it was 0. And that was like, I thought I was like Jack on Titanic when he was freezing. Like, it was that cold.
It was
but
cold.
Yeah, I can't even imagine -30.
But I think it was also cool just to experience a different part of the country. Like I said, it was kind of like cowboys and Indians, and it was different. And in itself, it was like, now that I look back on it, I'm like, I survived it. Like, it was cool to see like how those natives were over there and like how this town kind of was. Cause like their town would shut down, I feel like at like 9 o'clock, and here in Nevada, you know, like 24/7 stuff's open late. And like over there, I had to get used to that. Cause it was like, I can't go to the store right now. Like it's closed. Like, and on Sundays they didn't open until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. A lot of the restaurants,
oh dang,
a lot of the stores wouldn't open because of church, because they're like a church state, like the Bible. So
yeah.
my mom came and she was gonna get me stuff before she had to fly back. And we tried to go to Walmart, and Walmart was closed. We're like, what the heck? And we looked at it. Yeah, so like certain things like that. But I also was cool because United Tribes was in that area, so I got to know a lot of the natives over there. And I was also like always over there in the beginning, just playing open gym all the time because I figured out when open gym was. So I was always over there. So that's how I got to know a lot of the natives around there too.
See, you talk a lot about, you know, how do you balance your schedule while you're in school? I know you were playing basketball, so I'm sure you didn't have a job. But how do you balance that? Basketball, school.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So during that time, like whenever you get to school, usually it starts September, October right now, we would be starting preseason workouts, and it depends on where we went. So I'll just use Haskell, for example. We would have 6 a.m. workouts, and then it would go 6 to 8, 6 to 8:30, depending, and then you would have class after that. Like some people would have class at like 8, or they'd have class at 9, and then we would come back and we'd have like afternoon practice, and just that, and then we would have just class all day. But honestly, for me, I would balance because I would have to write things down. Like I was someone who had to write like my day out the day before. Like I'm gonna do this this time.
Yep.
I'm gonna take a 30-minute nap. Then I'm gonna go like that. Like,
Yeah.
I have to plan it out like that, because if I didn't plan it out like that, I'd be forgetting something. And like for me, I was also like utilizing like days off. I would be doing homework, so like on the weekend I wouldn't have to do homework. I could just freaking lay in bed all day because I finally get a day off and I don't have to do homework. So like utilizing extra time to do homework or whatever I needed to do. Writing stuff down was how I got through all of college. I still write stuff down now because I have to write it down. If I don't, and I'm just like, I try to do planners, but planners don't work for me because I write it down and I just don't look at it again. I'm like a person who has to get a piece of paper, write it down, time it out, even if I have to.
Yeah, we heard a lot of that, right, Avery? A lot of students trying to make sure that their schedules fit, and whatever works for you is what's gonna be like working for you.
And I think when you develop a routine, like get into some type of routine, it starts to get easier. So like even though workouts and all that suck, like you get into your routine and then it just becomes easier and it's just like a habit kind of, you have to be here at this time and you just keep going and you have to be there at that time and you have class. And usually like in college, your Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes are usually at the same time and your Tuesday, Thursday classes are usually at the same time. So like it's easy to start to know when you can and can't do stuff. And then just mostly that. That was just basically how I did it.
So I have another question. Should students like have their career path all figured out in high school?
No, because mine was between pharmacy and teaching, but I know there's lots of students who I know don't really have what they have planned out in high school at all. And that's completely fine. Like you don't have to have what you plan out. Some people in colleges don't even have what they have planned out. They'll go 2 years taking their generals and finally decide what they want to do. So I feel like that's completely fine. Like you don't really need to know what you want to do now. Maybe more when you get into college and you're taking your generals, you might want to start thinking about what you want to do, because then you start taking these classes that you don't really need, and then it kind of starts getting like a long process. But no, I don't think that students should have their career path figured out in high school.
Yeah. It's always for like anyone listening out there today, is stay open-minded. If you're a youth, stay open-minded. You don't have to have your career path figured out. Even some people like beyond college, like years out of college, still don't have the career path figured out. So take your time, and like Tyler said, take those random generals ed classes that they provide in college or whatever post-secondary school you're at, and just figure out what you like. And honestly, I didn't figure out what I wanted to do or even what I was interested in until at least a little bit over halfway through college. It took that long.
A teammate actually I just found out because I was talking to my other teammate who's still playing, and she had went back because what she wanted to do, she graduated and worked a year, figured out she didn't like it, and so now she's starting over. But she had taken her 2 years of generals, so she had 2 years done, so now she's just going back for 2 more and doing it in nursing, I think, because she figured out she didn't want to do whatever she was doing. I forget what her career was, but see, like that's just an example. Like they don't even have it figured out. They graduated, went and did it, and now she didn't want to do it, so she's starting over kind of.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of rewind to the very beginning when you said, you kind of already had an idea, like you kind of have a passion for wanting to help others. So, we've heard in other conversations we've had is that people follow your passion as well.
Yes.
No, yeah. Like Dina said too, sometimes that passion, you may not find it until later, and that's definitely okay. This world tends to rush us to where it feels like we have to have our career path set out as soon as possible. We have to finish college as quick as possible. But honestly, take your time. It's way less stressful. And then you find your career path. Like honestly, I should have graduated 2 years ago. But I feel like the most stuff I've learned is in this past 2 years that I've taken extra. And so, yeah, take your time. You're not in a rush to be in any certain career path. Just find your career path. And next thing you know, you've been working in a job that it doesn't even feel like you're working. And that'll be awesome. And so there's a lot of like different career paths, as we've talked about, that native students can go into. And so was there a certain way, do you know of a certain way to find these certain like career paths or internships? Like how did you sort of find like the education career path you wanted to be on?
So for students who want to like find internships or stuff like that, I feel like if there's like at our school, Collegiate St. Mary, we were a Catholic school, so there was lots of community service, community outreach programs that they would want you to do, and we had to do as like part of our basketball program. But during this, like that's where we found like we could network with people. We got to meet people who like the qualities you brought to the table, and they'd be like, oh, what are you going to school for? They'd figure out what you're going to school for, and they would know somebody. And then that's how like a lot of my friends have gotten jobs in Omaha, Nebraska, because we did those community service, and they've liked the qualities that they brought to the table. Like clubs, if you have clubs and you do that type of stuff at college, like that. So another way for me, I kind of got my internships or I guess internships are like student teaching or like what I'm doing now. It was part of my program, so that's the way I had to do it. So, but those are other ways for students who don't really know how to find internships. I would say clubs, community service, network with people, talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk out and speak with people, especially if you're interested in what you're doing at that moment. Like they could help you find things. I know my friend, that's how she got her psychology job on the Army base that she's on right now, because she was went to some African American club program meeting, and then she ended up meeting her mentor, and then after that she just networked and like met lots of people, and now she has a good job. She graduated and secured that job, so that's another way.
There's another word, network.
Yeah,
I've heard that quite a bit.
Yeah, we definitely have. I think almost every single person who's come in, even our college student guests that we've had, have said the network and then find this people, I mean, through clubs, through even just going to events on campus. Networking is the biggest thing that seems to be like to get that. It's the biggest thing that gets people to like their job that they usually want.
Job and just have friends in general.
No, yeah.
And ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself.
Or a dumb question.
What did you say? Sorry.
No question is like a wrong or dumb question.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Like they're all waiting for you to ask questions, like that's what they're there for.
Yeah, and then I think someone mentioned, it may have been Savannah Romero when we had her on as a guest, but she said, even if your voice is shaking, don't be afraid to ask that question, because there's a reason why that question wants to come out. It's because, feel free to ask whatever question you want. These teachers are there for you to ask questions. These educators are there for you to ask questions. And I mean, they love the questions, no matter what type of question it is. I've heard crazy questions in class that don't even relate to topics that we're even talking about. And teachers will still answer them. And I mean, that just shows that you can ask any question you like, and every question is important.
Really is.
And so far, like I know we've talked personally, and you've talked about sort of your job experience that you're doing right now or that you have done. And so maybe talk a little bit about that, and also what is one thing you've learned the most from working in schools already?
Okay, so before I had to do practicum, so I was in various different high schools like Kansas, Omaha, and then finally I did my student teaching here at Pyramid Lake, which was really cool. I was with Aubrey Neal. She's the social studies teacher here in high school for the high school kids here, and I basically worked underneath her for a little bit, and then I had taken over the classroom. And like during this time, I kind of learned like classroom management, how to work with the students, how to be a part of a different team, like a teacher team, a school team, working with different colleagues. Like it was the same kind of like as when you were on college teams, you work together and like communicate and stuff. So I kind of already had that when I first went to the school, but it was cool to like be among like educators and like learn from them, and like, oh, you should do it this way. And like, I just learned so much this past year that I was at Pyramid Lake. And basically like the main thing was like learning how to connect with the students, because I had never really got to do like full on like be in the classroom with students. And I think that was pretty cool, because the students had came from all over. They were from Carson, Schurz, Edgar Valley, the Colony, here, Fallon, like they're all over. So it was cool to connect with them. Over there I also was the basketball coach, so like I even got to connect with them on that type of level. And it was with the boys, so that was a whole different experience. And basically just learning how to be a good colleague and be in the classroom with the students.
Wow, that is so awesome. I mean, you're so young and you're already offering or being provided these lessons that, I can't even imagine what you're going to look like in 10 to 15 to 20 years. You're going to be amazing.
Hopefully, that's the plan.
Yeah, that's the plan. No, teamwork, like you said, teamwork. All these sports that we do, honestly, they're all learning experiences, from when we're just little kids on the court to when we're in college playing sports, or in high school playing sports, or even just playing sports, not even like through a school, maybe just at the courtyard or on the res or whatever. It all involves teamwork in some way, and all that teamwork tends to transfer over into our professional careers. So be the best teammate you can be, because it's always going to transfer over to your future job, your school, or even in your family when you raise a family when you're older.
Mhm. What piece of advice do you have for our youth?
So for me, the advice would be take your academics serious now. But I guess on a different note, this was like my advice for like the college or the students who want to be college athletes. I would say like set a goal and stay with that goal, because like I said, like my goal was to always finish school, and I've kind of did these goals, but I kind of kept in mind that that's what I wanted to do. I was going to keep on my road no matter how many times I've been set back, no matter how many times like I was discouraged. Like I knew that that was my goal and I was going to get there no matter what. So set a goal and keep with that goal, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it, because you can. There's a will, there's a way. That's what my dad always says. There's a will, there's a way. And that's kind of like what's always kept in my mind, that I'm always going to get this done. And I've kind of just kept on that path, no matter if it was like this half the time.
So, wow, that's powerful. Set a goal, stay with that goal.
Yeah. And honestly, too, I mean, I've set goals in the past. My goals have changed. And I think that's what I think people need to hear sometimes, is that even if you do set a goal, that goal, there's a chance it could change. And there's a chance like something can come up, and then that you may have to just change your whole pathway to that goal. So, and all of our pathways, me, Dina, Tyler, all of our pathways look like, they all look different. There's no pathway or journey that looks the same. Everyone's unique. And so, yeah, set that goal. The pathway may be difficult, or it may be include some roadblocks, as I like to say, or some stop signs, but just keep going for that goal. And so for Native youth out there right now, what steps should they be taking now in high school or middle school that really can help them in their future career?
I think focusing on school should be one. Like getting good grades early is a good one, like if you're thinking about going to school, because like your grades really do matter. Your freshman year, I kind of messed up, but don't be me. I kind of didn't take my freshman year serious. I was skipping school a lot, and then I kind of got back on track because of basketball, and I wanted to play because I was almost ineligible. But that's one thing that they should be focusing on early in high school, is their grades. Like grades are important. You can get scholarships from having good grades that help you to get to college. If you don't really know what you want, what you want to do, I think it would be like important to research where you want to go. So like research where, like you said, weather, schools, that type of thing. And maybe just thinking about questions that you might have and getting to talk to like a counselor or someone who maybe your higher ed person can help you with that. Or I know there like different programs have like the people that go to their high schools. Like I know the Colony has people who help with grades and stuff. Like get in contact with them if you need help. Like utilizing help when you can, like that's a big thing. I know at Pyramid, like we had lots of teachers who are willing to help with everything. So getting in contact with your teachers, that type of stuff, just mainly just focusing on school and grades, because all of that pays off in the future when you are going to go for like scholarships or stuff like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the best. I mean, if you're Native right there, if you're Native youth listening out there right now, take this advice in, because we're 100% serious with all this advice that we give everybody. Like this is some of the stuff that we wish we did. Like you said, like you wish you wouldn't have skipped school, or even just getting good grades. Like this, that it's always like that one assignment that you're like, oh, I'm gonna take a break on this assignment. Maybe I'll be good for it right now. But then it always comes back to haunt you in some way. Like that one assignment may turn into 2, 3. Like you're, oh, let me skip this other one. But then it just feels so much better when you just have all your work done ahead, and you've done everything, and you have that A.
And like when you're So like there's lots of scholarships out there for Native American students that I feel like people don't really utilize. And there's also like, I know when I was in high school, I didn't even know about any of the scholarships you could apply for going to college. And then when I got to high school, I felt like I was making money back from just getting good grades in itself. So I feel like in like high school, like I would get good grades to get those scholarships now because they are offered and they are there, and they would really like, they're there for Native students to have. And I don't think a lot of Native students know about them. And they also don't, like, it's too late when they do know about them.
Yeah, literally you could have college pay for you to go. I wish I would have known that. I wish I would have taken advantage of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have been a better student in high school. If I could go back to 9th grade, I would start all over and I would totally pay attention. I would ask questions. I wouldn't be shy. And I would really take it seriously. I'm lucky I graduated when I did.
Yeah, my freshman year, like I said, I had made varsity as a freshman. I was on the varsity team, and I thought it was so cool. I was hanging out with the older kids, and I was skipping class my freshman year. And I was skipping with Gabby Williams. That was my teammate, but she was really, really smart. Had like a 4.2 GPA, couldn't skip class. And then there was me who skipped class, but then wouldn't like make up the work. I would fall behind. And so then my freshman year, I think I ended with like a 1.9. And if my mom hadn't had made me take Dean's Future Scholar, like the summer courses they offer, I took a math course, and it was geometry. I got an A in that. It bumped me up. And if it wasn't for that class, my mom saying you have to take this summer, for whatever reason, the one summer she made me take it, I would have been ineligible in my sophomore years when we won state. So I would have never been part of that at all. And I also was like, during that, my sophomore year, I had to do like grade checks and daily check-ins with the AP, and it was embarrassing. And my teammates would be like, "Did you go to class? Did you turn in your assignments?" And like after that whole experience, I was like, "This is so embarrassing, you know, like I don't want to be put in that situation." Like, so after that, I like took school serious my junior and senior year, just because. And after that, it got easy. Like after I just started going to class and turning work in and just being present and just the simple things, just being present and doing your work.
Yeah, that's all it takes. And so we have one question from our Facebook comments. And so this question is for you, Tyler. And it says, what would you tell the Native youth who get homesick while at school? And so missing home is a big factor for dropping out. Family/community support is important. And so what's your advice for those students who do tend to get homesick while at school?
So when I was homesick at school, my freshman year I had almost came home. I was in Bismarck. I hated it. Didn't really have friends. Didn't know anybody. My uncle passed away the first month that I was at school. So I was really, really sad because it was the first time I was away from home. I had got sick and didn't know how to, like, you know, when you're at home, you have IHS, can go to IHS and get medicine and all that type of stuff. So I had came home and I did not want to go back. But my mom told me, like, this isn't what you want to do. My dad was like, you need to go back and finish. So when I would get homesick, I would call home or call whoever I needed to talk to. I would, for me, I had made friends within my teammates, and they were kind of in the same boat as me, and they couldn't go home and stuff. So just hanging out with them helped. Just kind of leaning on other people at school, because you're going through the same struggles. You might not be the same exact struggles, but you both are homesick. You're not from that place. Hang out with them, kind of get your mind off of it. Call home when needed. FaceTime's a big thing. FaceTime whenever. And for me, it was also like just keeping busy with like school. That was another way. And at high school, like another way was just like playing basketball or going to Tecum's and just kind of just keeping yourself busy or just talking to family when needed. And it also gets easier. Like I feel like the first year is always the toughest year because it's your first time away from school and you're so young. But then after a while, you just kind of get used to it, and you come home and like home's always the same. Home's always going to be there. Never really change. People are still kind of the same. They're maybe just a little bit older, or that type of thing, but it's always been the same. So for me, first year was the hardest for me, but I just kept stuck with it, and then after that, it just gradually started getting easier, and then I would look forward to like, oh, I have to go home for the summer. Like I wish I could just go with my friends, or like I was ready to go back to school by that time.
Yeah, good question, Isha. He was a student at Sierra Nevada College, so that's great.
Nice.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize too, like with being homesick, even like I was just in the dorms at UNR, and I almost like had that feeling like you said, once you get to that spot where you're comfortable and you actually go home and you're like, man, I want to be back at school. That's the best spot. And that's how you know when you're really comfortable in the spot.
Yeah.
And for those who my piece of advice that I would give for youth who are getting homesick is find that community that you have on campus. So you may be at, say, like you're at Bismarck, or you're at another university that's predominantly white, or even like at a TCU. Find people who are like you. Find people from your tribe, or just find other Native people in the area who you can just sort of relate to. And I think that's a big helper, especially because you never know if they have family in the area. And natives, we're all, once you know somebody, you're almost like family to them. So yeah, you get free food, like she said. Yeah. So find other natives, find people who are like you, like the same things as you, and you should be good to go. And so far, I mean, that was a great discussion we've had so far, Tyler. We don't have any more Facebook questions, and thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for all your advice. I wish you the best of luck in your future becoming a teacher. I know you're going to do amazing. I hope you're a basketball coach one day. Yeah, but I know you're
and a history teacher.
Yeah.
For sure. Basketball coach, I don't know.
You're going to teach a real history. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I hope everyone's enjoyed this discussion that we've had today. And Marky says, you go, Ty. Yeah, thank you so much, Tyler.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for another amazing discussion that we've had this week. And so next week, I'd like to remind everybody to come back on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time as we highlight SIPI. And so we'll bring in one student from SIPI, and she'll talk about her experiences there, Albuquerque, all the fun things they can do there. And so, don't forget to join in on Thursday at 6.
Until next time, we'll see you then.
Yep. And don't forget to follow our pages and share our pages with every single Native youth that you know. Okay, have a good weekend. Or week, sorry.
Good night.